Yeah, yeah, gotta know if I'm gonna be yours, so don't you keep me waiting. Yeah, yeah, I have to know if you wanna be mine, 'cause this is so frustrating. Tell me now, don't keep me waiting. Hey,
I've been using this oven technique to roast my spices for a while now, and so far I've only done it with coriander. All I do is place some coriander seeds on a baking sheet, make sure the oven is properly preheated. I preheat at about 180, and this time I'm also planning to try it with zira seeds or cumin seeds. All you have to do is put them in a well preheated oven, spread them out nicely, and if you can, give them a little stir halfway through, about 2 minutes in. This is one of those no fuss kitchen tips for roasting spices at home. If you make your own powdered spices, you can roast them perfectly this way and the kitchen stays completely mess free. For coriander seeds, if you don't want any browning, about 2 to 3 minutes in a thoroughly preheated oven is all you need. For cumin, since I was doing it for the first time, I realized it needed another 5 minutes to get that nice golden color. After those extra 5 minutes, it was beautifully roasted and you can really see the difference in color. Some recipes call for ginger garlic paste and some need finely chopped fresh garlic. Most of us make ginger garlic paste fairly often, but when it comes to chopped garlic, storing it in the fridge for longer just isn't something we usually do. What I do is buy garlic in bulk, peel it, and chop it in the chopper. It's the best way to chop garlic and it gives you really consistent results. Now the question is how to store it, and you can see exactly what I'm doing right here. It makes such a difference to use fresh garlic instead of ginger garlic paste, depending on the recipe, of course. Having garlic ready like this is so easy, and you don't have to pull out a chopping board just for this one thing.
I thought that I wouldn't break.
Now the idea here is to make use of a zip pouch instead of a freezer tray, and this hack is really great if you don't have one. What we are going to do is make these cubes according to our family or household requirement. We're going to freeze this and then break them into smaller portions and use them for as long as you want. I've made a much smaller batch here, but depending on your requirement you can make bigger zip pouches as well, and this is a great way to store garlic in bulk. Back in the day, our moms used to get every last bit of ghee out of their tin containers using this method, and today I'm sharing it with you for our ceramic jars as well. Of course, if they are microwave proof, you can do that too. But I somehow don't like the way it looks when half the jar has been used and the top is a bit untidy. So to make it neater, or sometimes just to get that last bit out, I place these jars inside a bowl of hot water and leave them there for about 10 minutes. The heat is enough that all the ghee, even from the top part, starts to melt and collect at the bottom. So even midway through use, after about half the jar is gone, it still looks very neat and tidy.
Open your eyes and take my advice. Stop pulling the dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life.
If you also struggle with chopping pumpkin, split it in half first. When using your knife, try a rocking motion like this. Now this is what I've been doing for quite some time and it's been working amazingly well for me, and that is to put these whole chunks into the microwave for about 3 minutes, and then you'll notice that it becomes much easier and softer to chop into chunks.
Tired and misunderstood. I would fight if I could. If I believed I should.
Usually this is where I do my chopping most of the times and not at the dining table. Now this countertop is very slippery for me, as you can see, for whatever board I may use. So this is my solution. I have basically cut out these 4 of these I have. These are anti-slip mats and I've cut them into round shape. You can cut in square or rectangle. And then I put these every time I'm using the board instead of a kitchen cloth, because those I need to wipe my hand and for other things. It's really important that the board doesn't slip, especially when you're doing a tough chopping job like this one. The round anti-slip mats or grip mats that I have can actually be used for smaller boards as well. Once the board is secured, chopping the pumpkin after microwaving it was such a breeze. Who would have thought that such a simple kitchen tip could make such a huge difference in your day-to-day cooking, and even in the choice of recipes you end up making more often, which is exactly what happened with me here. Now if you have a vegetable like this that's bigger in size, what I like to do is use the first half right away to make a recipe immediately. I also chop the other half, however, like in this case of the pumpkin, into bigger chunks, and then I keep it in the fridge to use eventually. That way it's much easier to store, and since it's already pre-chopped, you're much more likely to actually use it during the week. So whenever I'm boiling eggs, this is the one thing that I always do, and I'm not sure if it's a tip, but I thought of sharing it with you all, and that is that I boil my water in the kettle first. I don't put it on the pan directly. It's much faster to boil water here, maybe less than a minute, and then your water is already boiling and you can put your eggs straight in. I have another tip for that. Keep watching.
We can go on like we only just met.
Once your water has fully boiled and you've added it to the pan, before adding the eggs, I like to put in a stainless steel spoon. Thanks to Karina for sharing this tip with me. Now after that, when you add your eggs for boiling, I put them in for exactly 10 minutes, and sometimes even 8 minutes is enough. That's it. Adding the spoon makes peeling the eggs so easy. I drain them, let them cool down a bit so they're comfortable to handle, and then when you peel them, it takes seconds with no issues at all.
Soldiering on, and now you walking.
If you want that extremely thick and creamy yogurt, then you can't just put it into a sieve and leave it. I recommend adding a bit of weight on top of it, and that gives you amazing results. We're going to be doing that, putting it in the fridge for a few hours, and the end result is so nice that you can use it as a replacement for cream, and then you will see how tasty it can get. Take a muslin cloth or cheesecloth and strain the yogurt a little by hand before putting any weight on top.
And the kids off to school. Life has just been.
This entire setup can go into the fridge for 2 to 3 hours, or even 5 to 6 hours if you want a thicker consistency. Sometimes I even do it overnight, and the result is just beautifully thick, creamy yogurt. See, this is what I meant when I said thick and creamy. All the water is gone, it tastes way more rich and less sour, and you can actually cut through this disc of hung yogurt.
Too late to walk away. You crashed into my life like a category 5, but is it too fast for a broken heart? Maybe it's still.
Did you know that you can put your bread in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes or even half an hour before you're going to slice off the edges? I'm making a quick egg sandwich here. I have chopped boiled eggs and I'm adding just 1 tablespoon of hung yogurt along with salt, pepper and a little ketchup. Sometimes I also add mustard instead of ketchup. Now to make the sandwich, I had frozen the bread, which I brought out of the freezer about 5 to 10 minutes ago so that it's easier to work with. Now when you cut off the edges, if you want to, it's extremely neat and there are hardly any crumbs and the bread doesn't fall apart at all. This is especially handy when you're making food for friends and family. Now when you slice the sandwich after layering it, even from the center, it gives off a very clean and neat result, as you can see. Did you know that if you dunk your broccoli florets in hot water for a few minutes and then put them in cold water, the color turns very bright and beautiful green. You can use it in any recipe with that lovely color, and this method also gets rid of any dirt or smaller particles that might otherwise stay hidden. Today I'm making a quick roast vegetable recipe with all of these. Add olive oil, salt, pepper, a few powdered spices like garlic powder and basil powder. You can also make it Indian by adding chaat masala and red chili powder instead, and then roast this entire thing in the oven for a beautiful dinner dish. And here is another way to reuse the hung yogurt I made earlier. Now to this yogurt I am adding salt, pepper and red chili flakes and a touch of honey to balance out the flavors. Since it's so thick and creamy, it makes for a beautiful base to go along with the roasted veggies. I top the base with some chili oil that I made at home, and those crunchy bits from the chili oil add a nice touch of spice to the otherwise plain roasted vegetables. Together, this recipe tastes really lovely. Do give it a try. When it comes to roasting peanuts, you can do it in the oven as well, but I'm using the air fryer today. In a preheated air fryer at about 180, I roast these for 4 to 5 minutes and they turn out super crispy every single time, completely hands-free. Using these freshly roasted peanuts that we just made, I'm making a very quick premix that's so handy on a day-to-day basis for various Indian curries. The flavors are really top-notch. We're going to be using roasted peanuts, sesame seeds, a little bit of poha and desiccated coconut. You can also add melon seeds if you have them. I didn't have any today. Now we are going to add a touch of Kashmiri chili powder for color and blitz it in pulses so that the peanuts don't release oil. Now this mixture can be stored in the fridge and added to any gravy. It's a very quick premix that is extremely high in nutrition. Every time I need to store a leftover block of cheese, the best method for me has been to wrap it in butter paper properly and use a rubber band or something to secure it. If you want, you can write the date on top, although keep in mind it's best consumed as quickly as possible once it's been opened or it's out of the package. I love to drizzle lemon on top of things, but often I get lazy. So what I do is I like to chop them into smaller pieces and put them in a box. I only prep for enough for about a week. That way it's much easier to squeeze the juice out, and also I end up using lemons far more often. So this is another kitchen hack that can be followed by all smaller households. What I like to do is that usually when we get cabbage over here, it's very big in size. So apart from using half of it to make any kind of a recipe or curry, the rest half usually doesn't get used up that week also. So I chop it up and I put it in a bag like this and I freeze it. And the reason I do that is because now these cabbage strands or juliennes can actually be used in Chinese for making noodles or maybe sometimes for other recipes as well. And this bag remains with me. This way the vegetable doesn't get wasted and I can use a variety of vegetables in the coming weeks for different recipes. And the good thing is it's very easy to break it apart. You can of course store it in a freezer safe box if you have a bigger freezer, or the pouch within the pouches also it's very easy to crush it and use a smaller part out of it. Remember the garlic we froze earlier? We are going to use that right now, adding it directly from the freezer to the oil.
Even if I tried, 'cause every day I'm with you, I'm flying over.
And similarly, we can also freeze a whole chunk of ginger, and I'll show you why. Frozen ginger is so much easier to grate. There are no fibers stuck in the grater, it's much cleaner, and you can put it straight back in the freezer without any mess.
There's no way
We are also adding the cabbage we had frozen earlier to make our noodles today.
I'm gonna be alright. I don't know what you do to me, but I
Before adding your other vegetables, make sure you crisp up the cabbage first. By that I mean dry it out completely, get the right kind of browning, get rid of any moisture, and then add everything else.
when we touch is when I really come alive.
Really, the toughest part of cooking with cabbage is usually the chopping because it's so messy and you never quite know what to do with the rest. This way, I don't have to deal with that at all.
Can't see how, 'cause I need you by my side.
So those were some of my favorite kitchen tips that come in super handy every single day. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for being here. Until next time, here's Home Gupshup signing off.